Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Art Whisper 88. Now today's focus will be on French-German artist Hans Peter Wilhelm Arp, or commonly known as Jean Hans Arp. He was born in 1886 and he was an artist, a sculptor, and a poet. And he remains to this day one of the most influential figures in modern painting and especially sculpture, because he did a lot of sculptures that have since become icons in modern art. And I have here a few examples of his work. These are mostly in black and white, and I decided that I will do a tribute to Hans Arp using his very limited palette of black and possibly a cream or a beige background. I think it will be very interesting. And I notice every time I do a deep dive into these artists' lives, most of them, especially around the 1930s and the 1940s, had amazing life stories of survival and hardship, and they are a great inspiration to us to this very day. So I'm doing this so as not to forget them and to give them the proper respect and gratitude that is owed to them. So anyway, I will go ahead and start inking the gel plate. By the way, this is an 18 by 24 poster size jelly plate. This is provided by the wonderful people at jellyarts.com. Please check out their website. You can avail yourselves of the different sizes of this plate. So anyway, I will be back in a few minutes. I will get my materials together. Okay, everybody, here we are at the first step. I will start inking the plate. This is Acrylic Mars Black. This is one of my favorites, my standby. It's what I call a basic and a staple. And the plan is to create a black background . There will be some modulation in the black as the intention is really not to copy Hans Arp, but to interpret his work through my aesthetic. And in many ways, his aesthetic has influenced me greatly. I love his use of simple shapes, and these shapes are very organic. They're curvy and they evoke nature. Okay, I will apply my usual marks. And as usual, I am using Richardson printmaking paper. This is a 22 by 30. Now, since this is a very large plate, this is 18 inches by 24, I'm standing on a little platform to raise my body a little bit so I can get some leverage. I may get my head in the way of the camera shot. I apologize for that. But I want to get to all of the surface here. That's a trade-off when you're working with a large scale. I really have to be on top of this to get some leverage. Okay, so as usual, I will leave this for about 5 minutes. Okay, everybody, let's see how we did here. I think it picked up most of the black paint. Like that. So that's a good first layer. And the textures and lines give a little more interest as opposed to something that is just plain flat black. So I will keep going. Now my brayer is wet and it's creating these textures. So I'm just going with it. This is purely accidental, but sometimes the most interesting results come from accidents. They were not intended. Okay, let's see how we did here. Plate is sticking a little more, maybe because I left it a little longer, but that's okay. I'm going to let the weight of the plate make it settle down on the plexiglass bed. Now I have a piece of white plexiglass underneath because I find that the plexiglass is very good at making the plate stick. And it's very important when you're printing that your plate does not shift around. It's supposed to stay put. And since this gel plate is huge and it's heavy, it tends to stay put by its own weight. And that's what I like about it. Okay, I like that. Very straightforward. A simple black background. So now the plan is to overlap a layer of stencils with very similar shapes to what Hans Arp would use. Circular shapes, ovals, donuts, cutouts. I will do that as the next step. Okay, I am going to use this beige. This is a much lighter. This is lighter than sand or dune, but it's not white. This has a little warmth to it. So I will try to create a second layer of white, but like a creamy white. And when you work with a plate this big, to make it a little more manageable, you work in segments or in quadrants. You divide your plate into quadrants and do one quadrant at a time. Otherwise it gets overwhelming. Like I mentioned before, I really prefer using a small brayer because I can maneuver around the shapes. I couldn't do that with a larger brayer. Okay. I just have to clean up this blot here. Okay. So here is the first piece, which is a black background with some scribble marks. I may have slipped with the registration. I won't worry about it now. Because sometimes since a paper is so big, it shifts. Okay, I will leave this for about 5 minutes. You see, even with an elaborate setup like this, it doesn't guarantee that the registration is perfect. But it's the imperfections that make the piece interesting. That paper really snaps at you. Oh, check this out. Pretty effective, I think. There's not as much of the woodcut texture, but that's okay. So I'll set this aside to dry and move on to the next piece. Okay, this time I will use Dune, which is a little bit more of a yellowish beige. It has a warmer undertone. Okay. That's why it's good to have this rag handy for little cleanups like this. Okay. Okay, let's see how we made out here. This is clearly more yellowish, but I like it. It has a warmer undertone. And the registration is much better. Very cool. I like this better. This is my favorite one. So I will air dry both of these and recap. I'll do the comparison of number 1 and number 2. Okay, everybody. I could not resist doing this. A very kind viewer gave me a gift, and this is Chromacryl Clear Gel Medium, and I promised that I would feature it and try it in my next video. So I'm going to mix some of this because the next layer I want to put, which is this yellow ochre, I want it to be semi-transparent, and I want to see what happens. Now I usually, in all my past videos, I rarely mix the colors. I usually use them straight out of the jar or of the tube, but I think this one's worth a try. Okay, I'm going to use my smaller brayer because I'm going to work around the edges. This color makes me think of yellow mustard, the kind you put on hot dogs. Okay. And just make sure I don't have any high spots. I'm sure that there will be areas that will start to blot because they are heavy with paint, but that's all right. Okay. Like I always say, I won't know till I try. Okay, this is the first print with the beige color, which is it's like an off-white. It's a lot whiter than the sand color. And let's see what happens when I apply the second layer. And hopefully this will be transparent. Okay, I'm going to give the paper a chance to absorb the paint. That's why I leave it on for about 5 to 6 minutes. I can see it does make the paint a little more transparent. Okay. I like it. It's a little more lively, and in a way it corrects the misregistration. and it's not as obvious. So this was like a unexpected save. So I will let this dry and then recap with the two pieces side by side. Okay, everybody, here's the last leg of this journey. Here are the two pieces side by side, and this is the one with the additional layer of transparent yellow ochre. Here's a close-up. Let me show you this one first. Here is the second one. So let me just put this to one side so you can see it with the inspiration piece. I hope you like this video. Please give me a thumbs up. Share this with your friends. Please pay a visit to artwhisper88.com. And the sales of these pieces help to keep this channel going. Also, many thanks to the folks at jellyarts.com. They have generously sent me another poster-sized gel plate, which I will feature in my next video. Thank you so very much, and I hope to see you next time.